Good morning and welcome to the 2022 RiseWith virtual conference. I hope you're doing well this morning. I hope you are prepared for a phenomenal and fantastic day. I am John L. Reamer Jr., the Director of the Bureau of Contract Administration in the City of Los Angeles Department of Public Works. And I am so pleased as part of our National Hispanic Heritage Month to have you join our city family and just share with you our gratitude for your sharing your valuable time with us today. I also want to thank our city family, our Board of Public Works, and our BCA staff for this event possible today. You know, someone asked me, what have I learned over these past 30 months? And dare I say, and might I add, these past 3 days. And the fact of the matter is, it's clear to me, we need each other. We need each other. This is not a journey that anyone should dare try to take on their own. And our goal today is for you to so appreciate how we greatly benefit from linking together, how we so benefit from striving together to reach the heights as we emerge from the challenges that would, I say, dare limit our possibilities. That's what we have for you today in this virtual conference. The notion of us helping you succeed, helping businesses succeed. And that's our goal. That's the city's desire for you. We're going to focus today on your not only recognizing, but reaching possibilities. Isn't that a good thing? The possibility. What's there for me? What's there for us? Because we all benefit. As you succeed and as you thrive, we all succeed and we all thrive. So the notion of rising as we come up from and we do that with together. This is not one person makes it. This is we all make it. So we're going to focus today on things such as our RAMP update. And you'll come to find out if you don't already know, RAMP, what is he talking about? What is RAMP? Our goal as a city family to ensure that not only do we have compliance, but we have compliance that promotes opportunity through diversity and equity and inclusion. We have a new ordinance that some of you may not be familiar with. Our commitment to local businesses and what that does and what we are trying to accomplish. And then ultimately, yes, our support for small businesses. Yes, we so value our small businesses and all that they bring to our economy, yes, our environment, most certainly, but our being able to emerge from those things that would thwart, if you will, that would stall, that would hamper our effectiveness as a community, as a city family. So welcome once again. And I hope that you will enjoy this day, this rising together with this city family and those who are here. We're going to have some breakout sessions that we will afford you an opportunity to just put more tools in your toolkit. So with that said, let me introduce someone that I'm sure you're all very familiar with, who has been a champion for small businesses. He is a champion for small businesses. Our mayor, none other than Mayor Eric Garcetti.
Hello, I'm Mayor Garcetti, and it's my pleasure to join the Board of Public Works and the Bureau of Contract Administration to welcome you to Accessing LA. You know, today is about making sure that we have a level playing field so everyone can share in the opportunities our city of belonging creates. So much is possible when we bring business leaders like all of you together around a common goal, sharing information, imparting knowledge today that will help drive the growth of your businesses tomorrow. Resources that will help you create jobs, expand your businesses, and help support your community, adding to Los Angeles' economic momentum as we lead the country out of the recession. We know being a business owner can be difficult, which is one of the reasons why the city is committed to ensuring that every business in the city has a fair opportunity to benefit from our over $4.5 billion that we spend each year on goods and services. We've done this by hiring the city's first chief procurement officer to help lead in the city's goal to increase the number of women and minority-led enterprises getting contracts from city government, by launching RAMP, which stands for the Regional Alliance Marketplace for Procurement, to ensure that the city expands accessibility to more procurement opportunities for all businesses, by adopting citywide community-level contracting to break large contracts into smaller, more accessible contracts whenever possible, and by signing Executive Directive 35, which paves pathways that will ensure that small business participation in procurement, changes and improvements to the procurement process will happen so that it works for all, and that it bridges gaps to help create an equitable marketplace for everyone. We achieve that by standardizing the collection of business demographics for all departments and prime contractors, clearing the path for adopting charter amendments that will open the door in the future to small business inclusion in the procurement process, and creating systems that increase communication, clarity, and transparency, as well as expediting payment procedures, ensuring subcontractors who often have the least access to resources, support, and time are not left to advocate for themselves and the money they deserve. We also streamline business support and outreach, and so much more. You know, my days as mayor of this amazing city are coming to a close, but my commitment to you, to my Los Angeles, our hometown, it is everlasting. And a foundation for the next administration to build upon what we have done has been laid. But the fight to ensure that every Angelino is able to succeed must continue. And that fight starts with you. Take advantage of this day with meaningful action by reaping the benefits of all the resources that we've put and made available to you. I'm so excited to see what we can accomplish together, working together. And thank you all. And please enjoy Accessing LA.
Our President of the Board of Public Works, it is my honor and my privilege to introduce to some and present to others our Commissioner, Aura Garcia. Madam President.
Great, thank you. Thank you, everyone. It is an honor to be here again at RiseWith Accessing LA event. You know, for many of you, we have been doing this for 5 years now. If you can remember that, when we were having live events at City Hall, at CSUN, I think we did one out in the East area as well. So this Accessing LA events have been very prominent in our board. We look forward to having 3 events throughout the year. We usually have one in the February month, then we have one in May, and this is our last one for the year. So I'm very excited and honored to be here this morning. Thank you all for being here. You know, like everything else, we have technical difficulties, and there's no mistake about that, but I assure you that the mayor wishes us all a great event and wishes us to continue the hard work that we do. Given that many of you have read that Mayor Garcetti recently signed an Executive Directive 35, laying the foundation for increased access to City of Los Angeles procurement process for women and minority-owned businesses. This is really important for us, and we will continue to that fight and that struggle to make sure that we open up access and level the playing field for many of us that are and were small business owners and continue to be. So again, my name is Aura Garcia, and I serve as the president of the Board of Public Works. I'm very excited to be here today at the RiseWith virtual event for 2022. We're still doing virtual. We hope maybe next year we can transition into in-person, but a lot of it also, we love being able to still continue to provide the information. Today, you'll be hearing from a lot of great speakers on the work that we're doing to make sure that we do open up more access to everybody involved. I'm sure you've heard of our community level contracting events as our level contracting program that we have under the board. That's our effort to extract and unbundle big contracts into smaller contracts to make sure that we again level the playing field. We are recently just opened an RFQ list for beautification services, again just unbundling big projects into smaller projects so that we can start directly contracting with small businesses so that small businesses can start understanding and getting into this bigger contracting opportunities. Those are just some of the examples that we do here at the board, especially now. It is very critical to make sure that we have access for small businesses that want to do business with the city, and we are creating ways and being very creative to make sure that that happens. I thank you all for being here. I thank you all for spending your morning with us. We appreciate all of you, and I'm excited to be in conjunction with our General Inspector John Reamer, with Linda McGlinchey from the Bureau of Contract Administrations, and with all of you that make our city just a wonderful place to be in. I'd like to give special thanks to my colleague, Commissioner Vahid Khorsand, for his leadership and hard work in putting together this virtual event. This year, Vahid Khorsand led our event and our last event. Vahid is very well known in the small business community, and so we're excited that Commissioner Khorsand is able to help us lead this effort as well. I'm always in the background cheering and making sure that we include and that everybody's included in this process, and I want to make sure that everybody feels that they can be a part of what we are trying to change by creating more opportunities at the Board of Public Works. I'm also very proud, like I said, of being in this team with John Reamer, always being very supportive of small businesses. It's very important that we do that. Our shared goal is to help you gain access to many opportunities and the city offers in as equitable process as possible. And I look forward to working with each and one of you in the future. Now I'd like to take this time to invite Andrew Choi, Project Manager with the city's Chief Procurement Officer team, to give a presentation on the Regional Alliance Marketplace for Procurement, or what we all are starting to get to know it as RAMP. Andrew?
Sorry, this is Esther here from BCA. Right now, currently Andrew was not able to come in, unfortunately. However, he said he'll come back in at the later part of the event. Please look at the chat. He did send his information in case you have inquiries for RAMP LA. But yeah, sorry about this inconvenience, but I hope he could get back on sooner than later. Thank you. So we'll give it back to you, Mr. Reamer.
I think this is my part, Esther, if that's okay, Inspector Reamer. But go ahead, Inspector Reamer.
Go ahead.
Well, you certainly deserve an introduction, Commissioner Khorsand. And to all of our participants this morning, we certainly apologize for the Zoom inconvenience, but we will rise above this as well. And our next leader for us today is our own Commissioner Vahid Khorsand. Our commissioner has been with us for a short period of time, but he has made a mighty impact in the time that he's been with us. He brings a wealth of knowledge, especially in the environment and the area of economic impact for our city. So I welcome him to shepherd us through the balance of our time together. Commissioner Khorsand.
Thank you, Inspector Reamer. Hi, everyone. My name is Vahid Khorsand, and I serve as a commissioner on the Los Angeles Board of Public Works. Thank you for joining us. It's very exciting just to be here today, as President Garcia had mentioned, and I know Inspector Reamer. And for those of us who know the mayor, of course, he had expressed his appreciation for all our small businesses and businesses in Los Angeles as well. We've prepared an exciting program that we hope meets your needs, answers your questions, and gives you the information you've been looking to achieve for the next level of success for your business. All of you joining us today, our business community, are truly the economic backbone of Los Angeles, and our goal for this event is to uplift your business and continue opening the doors of opportunity and success for you. I know we say that a lot of businesses being the economic backbone. But I say that as someone who is a small business owner, who's been on the boards of small local chambers in the San Fernando Valley, that I truly appreciate all the work and the backbone that you provide to the city of Los Angeles. We hope that you find value in our virtual event series because we are committed to you and making sure your business thrives in the city of Los Angeles. And before I kick it off to our next speaker, I just want to acknowledge and thank the Bureau of Contract Administration team, who've really been very meticulous and dedicated to making sure that this program and this series really provides our businesses with the information they need. So Jessica, Aster, Linda, Diana, and Inspector Reamer, everyone in your team has done a phenomenal job. So thank you. But now our next speaker, I'd like to introduce Blair Bradley with the Bureau of Contract Administration's Business Inclusion section, who will present on the Local Business Preference Program and Local Transitional Employer Program.
Good morning, everybody. Blair Bradley here with the Bureau of Contract Administration Business Inclusion section. Okay, let's get started. Next slide. We'll start with what is the Business Inclusion section. This section is responsible for administering the rules and regulations governing the City of Los Angeles's minority-owned business enterprises, women-owned business enterprises, small business enterprises, emerging business enterprises, disabled veteran business enterprises, and all other business enterprises. The section also regulates the subcontractor outreach program for public works contracts, established under the Mayor's Executive Directive 14, which requires all respondents to public works city-funded projects to perform subcontractor outreach as part of the Business Inclusion Program. This section is also responsible for administering the Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Program for federally funded projects for the Department of Public Works. Next slide. Also administered by the Business Inclusion section is the Business Preference Programs, which provide a contracting preference to certified small, local, and other Los Angeles County-based businesses who bid on city contracts for goods, equipment, and supplies. The original preference program was based on City of Los Angeles Ordinance number 181910 that became effective November 28, 2011. It was designed to encourage businesses located in the County of Los Angeles to compete for city contracting opportunities, to locate operations within the City of Los Angeles, and to encourage existing local businesses to refrain from relocating to different, less expensive areas. To further the city's mission of boosting local business participation in city contracting and increasing employment opportunities for transitional workers, the Local Business Preference, Small Local Business, and Transitional Job Opportunity Programs have now been consolidated into the Local Business Preference Program under City of Los Angeles Ordinance number 187121 that became effective in August of 2021. Under this ordinance, the Small Local Business Program became the Local Small Business Program, or LSB, and the Transitional Job Opportunity Program became the Local Employer Program, or LTE. Next slide. As part of the restructuring, preference percentages will be as follows for contracts up to $150,000. Contractors who qualify as LSBs or LTEs will receive a 10% preference to their bid. In addition, non-LSBs or LTE contractors who identify a subcontractor certified as an LSB or LTE shall receive a 1% preference to the bid for every 10% of the work to be performed by the qualifying subcontractor, up to 5%, with a not to exceed total of 10% preference. Next slide. Here is an example where bidder number 2 and bidder number 3 both hold a valid certification and are receiving a 10% preference. This allowed bidder number 2 to move up to the first low bidder position for bid evaluation purposes only. Although bidder number 3 held a certification and received the preference, their bid was too high to move them up, and they will remain the third low bidder. Next slide. Here's an example of a bidder who bid listed a verified local small business subcontractor for 11.33% of the proposed work and is receiving a 1% preference. As a result, they become the first low bidder for bid evaluation purposes only. Next slide. For contracts over 150,000, contractors who qualify as a local business enterprise or LBE will receive an 8% preference to their bid. Contractors who also qualify as a LSB or LTE will receive an additional 2% preference for each additional certification. Next slide. In addition, contractors who are not local businesses, but who identify a subcontractor certified as either an LBE, LSB, or LTE shall receive a 1% preference to the bid for every 10% of the work to be performed by the qualifying subcontractor, up to 5%, with a not to exceed total of 12% preference or $1 million. Next slide. Here we see an example where bidder number 1 and bidder number 2 are not LBE certified, but bidder number 3 does hold a valid certification and is given the 8% preference, allowing bidder number 3 to become the first low bidder for bid evaluation purposes only. Next slide. In this example, bidder number 2 is a certified LBE as well as a certified LSB, and therefore receives the 8% LBE preference and the 2% LSB preference for a total of 10% preference, allowing bidder number 2 to become the first low bidder for bid evaluation purposes only. Next slide. This next example, where bidder number 2 receives the 8% LBE preference and 2% LSB preference, and bidder number 1 bid listed 3 certified LSB subcontractors for a total of 42.52% of the proposed work and is receiving a 4% preference. Although both bidder number 1 and bidder number 2 both received a preference, it did not change the order of bids. Therefore, just because you hold a certification or you bid list subcontractors who hold a certification, it does not guarantee you'll become the first low bidder. Next slide. It should be noted that preferences will only be awarded to a local business with a minimum of 2/3 of the service provided under the contract being performed within the county of Los Angeles. My apologies. Next slide. And here's what's new. Recently, Charter Amendment BB, which passed June 7th, 2022, amends the city charter by adding City of Los Angeles to the definition of local. Therefore, the city is now permitted to provide an additional bid preference for businesses which are located specifically within the City of Los Angeles. Currently, the Bureau of Contract Administration is gathering information to make a recommendation to the city on how best to execute the new measure. So keep an eye out for more information on this in the near future. And that sums it up for me.
Thank you, Blair, for those important updates. Now we'll hear from Rolando Tuason in Certification Outreach Regulations Enforcement with the Bureau of Contract Administration on certifications with the City of Los Angeles.
Thank you, Commissioner. Good morning, everyone. My name is Rolando Tuason. I'm a certification analyst with the Bureau of Contract Administration. Next slide, please. Let me begin my presentation with a reminder that RAMP LA is your source of information for all city contracting opportunities and where your company information, including your certifications, are available to all city departments and prime contractors looking for partners in city projects. My short presentation would introduce you to the certifications available with the city. There are 12 certifications you could apply for either by submitting a paper application, applying online, or through your account in RAMP LA. These programs are grouped by those that are ownership-based, those that are location-based, and programs that are recognized from other agencies. Next slide. For the ownership-based programs, the biggest are the Disadvantaged Business Enterprise or DBE certification and the Airport Concession Disadvantaged Business Enterprise or ACDBE. These are federally mandated certifications for projects with federal funding. The main criteria for these are the owner should be a minority, someone who belongs to a presumptive group shown at the right of the screen, and someone who must prove their ownership and control of the business. The owner should be the qualifier of any required licenses or certifications and subject to the limits of the owner's personal net worth and average gross income of the business. The next two are the Minority Business and Women Business Enterprise certifications. These programs follow the same federal guidelines for ownership and control without the limits for personal net worth and gross income. And lastly, the Disabled Veteran Business Certification must have an active Disabled Veteran Certification from the California Department of General Services or a recognized veterans agency and must be headquartered in LA County. Next slide. The next group are the relocation-based programs. A new city ordinance effective August 17 of last year created the Local Business Preference Program, which I'm sure you heard Blair presented earlier, or LBPP, and grouped into three programs, namely the Local Business Enterprise, the Local Small Business, and the Local Transitional Employer. These three programs use a single application form available from your company's account in RAMP LA. The Local Small Business was formerly the Small Local Business Certification, while the Local Transitional Employer replaced the previous Transitional Job Opportunities Program, or TJOP certification. As the name implies, only firms headquartered in Los Angeles County are eligible for these programs. The Local Transitional Employer Program is now open for both for-profit and non-profit firms. Previously, the TJOP was only for non-profit firms. Next slide. The next group are programs that recognizes the active certifications from our partner agencies. The Small Business Enterprise, the Emerging Business Enterprise, and the Disabled Veteran Business Enterprise certification requires firms to have an active certification with the California Department of General Services. Firms do not need to apply to the city for these programs. You can apply with the Department of General Services from the link shown at the bottom of the slide. Next slide. Another recognition program is the LGBTE certification. Is based on the Businesses Active LGBTE certification from the National LGBT Chamber of Commerce. And the slide should show the link to the LGBT Chamber of Commerce website. Next slide. This slide summarizes how and where you can apply for each certification. The DBE and ACB certification are now processed from a new online application portal shown on the chart. This portal connects to the statewide certification database used by the California Unified Certification Program, or CUCP, member agencies, notably Caltrans and Metro. Okay, hard copies or paper applications available from Bureau website are required for MBEWBE certifications. The SBE proprietary certification used by DWP, the World Airports or LAWA and the Harbor Department can be granted if a firm has an active certification one of these agencies listed in front of the application form. The application is available from our Bureau website. Without an active certification from one of the recognized agencies, the business must submit a paper application. This is the only program that accepts applicant firms located out of LA County or out of state. As you can see, you can apply for, I think this is more on the previous slide. You can apply for a number of these programs through your account in RAMP LA. I think, next slide. The next slide would guide you on which of your active certifications can qualify you to be recognized for other certifications. And also the one after this, next slide. It would benefit you, and next slide, please. It would benefit you to familiarize yourselves with our programs and apply for those that you are eligible sooner than later, and not wait until you are in the bid submission process. It takes time to review these certifications with our limited number of resources. You should also know which certification is required for the project you are interested in by understanding the bid requirements. In closing, I know that you will have more questions, so please email your questions to our general email address or go to the Bureau of Contract Administration's website for more information. And all of you will be getting a copy of our slides. Thank you for your time and your interest in our program. Have a good day.
Thank you, Rolando, for that information. It's critical that everyone here knows about certification with the city. Next, we'll hear a few words from Councilmember Monica Rodriguez.
Hi, I'm Councilwoman Monica Rodriguez, and I want to thank you for participating in this virtual webinar to help learn and discover the contracting opportunities that are available to you and your small business. When I was on the Board of Public Works, I created the Small Business Academy, specifically because I wanted to create more competitive opportunities for small businesses and minority-owned businesses in the city of Los Angeles to be able to compete effectively for city contracts. Too often I saw large corporate interests getting the wealth of these opportunities. And so by creating the Small Business Academy, we created a vehicle by which you would learn how to navigate the labyrinth of a city process and make sure that you were successful in securing a city contract. It's really incumbent upon you to ask your questions and learn the process. And I want to thank all of our bureaus, from sanitation to the Bureau of Engineering and of course Contract Administration, our partners at GSD and the Department of Water and Power for making themselves available to teach you where the pitfalls potentially are so that you can successfully secure a city contract. So ask your questions and make sure to leave no stone unturned, because creating generational wealth and creating opportunities for small businesses is incumbent upon you as it is with anyone else in the city. So thank you for joining us on this webinar today, and good luck. Go out, conquer, succeed, and again, happy Latino Heritage Month.
Now I'm excited to present our contracting opportunities panel discussion with city departments. Each speaker will have about 4 minutes to present about their procurement opportunities and process. This panel includes Eunice Lee from the Department of Public Works Bureau of Engineering, Gerald Chung and Martha Medina from General Services Department, Amber Mishak from the Los Angeles World Airports, our regional partner Robert Murphy from LA County Public Works, and David Jacot from the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power. Floor is yours to our panel. Thank you for joining us today.
All right, good morning, everyone. My name is Eunice Lee. I'm with the Department of Public Works, Bureau of Engineering, Project Order and Control Division. I'll be going over where to look for upcoming contracting opportunities today. Next slide. All right, so first, I wanted to give you an overview of types of projects that Bureau of Engineering manages. Here, I have 4 categories. We plan, design, and construct municipal and recreational facilities, bridges, sidewalks, and street projects, water quality and stormwater projects, as well as wastewater system. There are 2 web locations where you can find project opportunities that were awarded previously and they are currently out to bid and will be open to you as well. Next slide. The first one is RAMP. The RAMP is where you can look for projects that were already there are out to bid currently, and also the ones that already have been awarded as well. You can select the personal services or construction under category to filter your searches. Next slide. Another website you can go look for the opportunity is Bureau of Engineering website. This is the contractors site. So when you go to the main website, there will be a little button that shows the contractors. Then you can click on that button, or you can go to the link that's shown on this slide directly to get to the site. From this site, you can get the information such as anticipated construction project to bid, current projects out to bid, plan holders list, and historical bid results. Next slide. From the anticipated construction projects to bid site, you can get 1-year look ahead of a construction opportunities. This list also includes the pre-qualified contractors and city forces project, which gets advertised on Vavin, which was the site that it was used previously. And you can also obtain the project list, which is currently out to bid, and the list of plan holders for those projects. Please note that the bid documents can be only obtained from the RAMP website. So make sure that you're registered on the RAMP website to be able to obtain the documents. Once bids are open or once bids are received, we often get emails from the bidders if we can share the bid results. So here, by selecting the historical bid results from the BOE website, you can find the bid results within 1 to 3 business days from the bid opening date. You can access previous BOE construction project bid results as well from there for your references. Next slide. And here I have the links that I just shared with you during my presentation for your reference. And that's all I have.
Hello, I'm Martha Medina. I am one of the supervisors for general services for construction and maintenance, building maintenance. This is Gerald Chung. He is also working with our supplier and vendor relations that are part of supply services for general services. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Oh, there we go. Oh, wait, go back. Supply service mission is to procure all supplies, equipment, and services for cost-effective and timely manner. In attempting to fulfill the mission, all qualified suppliers will be given an equal opportunity to do business with the city. Next slide. Next slide. There we go. Supply service division is responsible for inventory management, salvage, payment, supplier, customer relations, and our FMS support functions, which is our financial management system, which is our ability to do purchasing online. Our procurement staff is organized into 5 centralized commodity groups. Automotive, 1, construction and building maintenance, 2, which I am the supervisor for, general operations, and the IT group, which is 3, industrial, which is a lot of our sanitation and our big plants over at Hyperion, and public safety, which most of you are aware of, basically a lot of LAFD, LAPD. We do about $600 million in purchases fiscally every year, and we have about 440 annual requirement contracts, which is different than a service contract. which is part of the public works. Ours are commodity based, and we have about 440. We do, from those 440 annual requirement contracts, about 76,000 contract purchase orders. And outside the contract purchasing, we do about 2,300 one-time purchase orders. So those are orders that are not covered within the contracts, and they're over $1,000. And then we do about 22,000 for purchase orders that are under $1,000. So you can see it's quite a bit. Next slide, please.
Hello, I'm Gerald Chong. The General Service Department, LA Ramp, Vendor Self-Service, and the City of Los Angeles websites are all located on this page. I want to emphasize that registering with LA Ramp and LAVSS is completely two different accounts and not interchangeable. We get tons of emails and phone calls every day saying that they tried logging in onto LA Ramp with their VSS information and vice versa, and they're unable to log in and want to know why it doesn't work. So please be aware of this. Next slide, please. The Los Angeles VSS is for commodity vendors. Business opportunities or solicitations are posted on the LAVSS website. All responses to City of Los Angeles solicitations must be submitted through VSS. To respond, you must sign up for a VSS account. Next slide, please. On the LAVSS website, you can click on New Registration to create an account. If you have an existing vendor ID number, click on Request Activation Code. If you have any questions, you can reach out to us either by phone or email. On the website, if you click on VSS Guides, we have step-by-step guides to navigate the website and training videos. Vendors should register with LAVSS because this is where vendors can submit bids. Next slide, please.
Hi, it's Martha again. Why get certified? It's important to get certified because if there is an RFP, which is a request for proposal, or an RFQ, which is a lot of the commodity purchasing, it has a preferential scoring or participation requirement. A certified firm will have a leg up over another that isn't certified. Certified applications are on this link. We talked a lot about it previously. Certification is another marketing tool for a company. It can rise the firm's profile in competition against non-certified contractors. Next slide, please. Depending on the certification, a firm can get free marketing exposure to prime contractors and government agencies through the City of LA database. And you see the links there, and it shows the preference, the SLB, which is now the LSB, the local small business preferences, and it gives you an advantage over others. Next slide, please. It's important when you are interested in selling to the city to become familiar with the competitive bidding process as it relates to your products or services. Get to know your customer and user departments. That's really important, including manufacturers or other members of your own supply chain in your own marketing strategies. Next slide, please. Well, that's a little overview of what goes on with general services, supply services, commodity purchasing. Any further questions? All of our links are there, and you can get a hold of us at any of the links that we have provided. Thanks so much. Good luck.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me? I want to make sure that the audio is working here. So thank you everyone for joining. And my name is Amber Mishak. I am the director of Los Angeles World Airport's Business, Jobs, and Social Responsibility Division. I'm glad my audio is working. I'm excited. We got to be thankful for small victories here. But in my role, our division is really responsible for coordinating with all of the LAWA divisions to work on increasing access to business and workforce opportunities. So we work on both sides of the equation, really looking at strategies to address our procurements, how we purchase goods and services, and making sure that the folks who can fulfill those needs are aware of our opportunities and the processes. I think most of you know about the little airport we run. It's called LA International, or LAX. And we also run the Van Nuys General Aviation Airport. Next slide, please. So I'm going to cover, a lot of my colleagues have already covered RAMP. I don't need to reiterate that. That is, all city departments pretty much post our opportunities there. But what I want to talk to you about specifically is kind of like what LAWA buys, specific information about LAWA, where to find specific information about LAWA opportunities, and just some general advice on things that we do differently, and how to take advantage of LAWA's approach. Next slide, please. So the first thing that I would recommend for folks who are interested specifically in doing business with LAWA is to attend our aptly named monthly workshop called Doing Business with LAWA. And that is generally the first Wednesday of each month, except for a couple months of the year we take off, usually August and December. But we will go over, I feel like that's a low key way of, am I talking too loud? But I'm glad you're hearing me. So we are going over all of the agenda items that you see here, and which is a lot of what you're hearing here today, but specifically describing how LAWA implements the programs at the airports that we run, as well as obviously with another emphasis on the concessions, which is the the goods and services that are sold to the traveling public. Next slide. So in general, we purchased about $500 million worth of goods and services just in our normal operations. So, to get more information about how we do that, again, there's a link here. This stuff is all accessible through our website, which is www.lawa.org. So, obviously you'll get these slides, and the links probably won't be active, but you'll be able to find them on our website following these routes. And I think that I think a lot of you you're probably aware of the the typical operations purchases that we buy. But what I also want to talk about is our $15 billion upcoming capital program. We've already started about $15 billion worth of work, and we have another $15 billion worth of work upcoming on our capital program. So that's a great opportunity for folks to really understand what it means to be a part of public works, the certifications, and the way that we deliver those projects. So that's, again, you have opportunities for much deeper dives by reaching out to us directly on our approaches. Next slide. So again, we post all of our big projects on all of our projects and contract opportunities on RAMP. I don't need to reiterate that. Next slide. We also have our own updates on our website, again, about what we're purchasing, what we're posting. Next slide. And a good kind of internal, it's a little outdated, but it's a good thing for you to track, which is the contract status report. So this is kind of a hint and tip, is that one way to kind of be on top of or be ahead of upcoming procurements is to track the types of contracts that you might be interested in, and see when we last awarded them and when they'll expire, so that you can, be a year or 2 years ahead of when they're going to expire, already be looking at the next opportunity, be looking at, okay, is this something where I should be subcontracting with the incumbent? Is this something where I should be trying to, joint venture and pursue the contract on my own the next time that it comes up? Because again, a lot of times, by the time things are posted on Ramp LA, a lot of times it's a little late to be trying to get involved with a, with a team at that point. So you really need to be looking ahead. And so that's one of the pointers that I really wanted to emphasize, is that using Ramp LA, using our contract status reports, not just to post yourselves, to register your business, which absolutely you need to do to find new opportunities, but also to do the research about the business cycles and about the upcoming contracts and about the type of vendors and the companies who have won these awards in the past. So, this information online, it's a really important source of research and information for your business as well. And happy to respond to folks, to kind of give a little bit more guidance as to how you can use those, especially on LAWA contracts. Next slide. So again, this is a listing of upcoming procurements you can find on our website. I don't want to go into details with this. Next slide. And then again, I mentioned the billions of dollars worth of work on our capital improvement program. Our construction projects are all run and managed by TDG, which stands for the Development Group, developing our airports, right? And so they have their own Outlook page on projects. So right now you can see that on the left-hand side, we have some big professional services contracts coming up on environmental services for our cargo modernization approach. And we just awarded the project management and construction management projects for our airfield and terminal modernization project, which is ATMP. So again, if you're doing professional services in the design, engineering, project management, project controls area, this is a good opportunity for you to reach out to the newly awarded incumbent and see if there are opportunities to subcontract. So that's an important note that I also want to make, is that LAWA, because of our size, our scope, our scale, a lot of our projects are quite large. So it's going to be especially important if you're interested in doing work at LAWA to really understand who the prime contractors are, who those first and second tier contractors are, because a lot of your opportunities are not going to be found directly on Bavin or Ramp. I'm sorry, I went old school for a minute and called it Bavin, but it's Ramp LA. And, that's really going to be cultivated by making those, building those relationships with our prime contractors and advertising what you have to offer as a team member. And of course, your certification status is one of many things that you have to offer. It's not a requirement, but it is something that's going to give you a competitive advantage when you're trying to become, especially a subcontractor or a team member on one of these big contracting teams. One of the things I want to mention, next slide, please. So before we go on to my colleague at Public Works, I just wanted to leave you with a couple of notes about some of the things that we at LAWA are specifically very proud of and that we're very focused on. Something that's very important to understand, especially given the fact that we do such large contracts, such large projects, and that a lot of your contracting opportunities will come through, subcontracting opportunities or joint venturing in the case of the airport concessions program, is that we have implemented a policy for scoring inclusivity on all procurements over $150,000, which is the vast majority of our procurements. And so what that means is that anyone seeking opportunity, anyone seeking to win a contract at LAWA, they will be evaluated and scored on their commitment to small, local, diverse businesses, and that they have to come up with a credible plan and approach for that particular contract that they're seeking. And we also look at their past performance, right? So we're building in an incentive for our prime contractors, for our big contracting partners to really be consistent in how they work with and utilize small, local, and diverse businesses. So that's something I wanted to make sure that you're aware of, and that speaks to why, as an effective small business, local business, diverse business partner with the appropriate certifications, you are adding value to the team when they have to meet these requirements and demonstrate their commitment to Los Angeles World Airports. So that's something I really wanted to highlight. And I definitely wanted to, I'll hand it over to my colleague now. I'll put the email address. I see a number of questions for us. I'll put our email address in the chat so that folks can follow up with your questions afterwards. Thank you so much for your time, and best of luck and success in your businesses. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Amber. My name is Robert Murphy, as you can see on the screen there, and as you can see on the screen also, with the Los Angeles County Public Works. So thank you so much, City of Los Angeles, for having me here today on this beautifully overcast Thursday and in Southern California, where I'm always happy to be. And I'm very happy to be here today with all of you so that I can share, but mostly just connect with you. And I'm not really looking to give you I don't want to give you a lot of detailed information, but I want to give you the tools and the places that you can go to get more detailed information and the specific help that you need for your business and how you can help provide the service, help us provide the services to LA County. So first of all, and I'm going to zip right through these because they're very similar. So you're right with me. You had the slide. You're good. Thank you. All right. So first of all, these steps are going to seem very familiar because you've heard it several times. It's just the process is similar. This location is a little bit different. You want to sign up to be a vendor with LA County. You're going to go to that website there, and you follow the steps. If you have trouble, there will be there's a line that will I'm sorry, actually I think you have to email and they'll open a ticket to help you out with that. The second thing is, and we are just as devoted to diversity and helping small businesses or level the playing field and help them to be competitive against more established or larger companies in the solicitation process. So we have the certification and preference programs also. I'm not going to go into the details of that. Also, you can also go to that link there, and please do. It's very important to go over them in detail, and there's always somebody there to help you with that also. But I will stress, please don't count yourself out on that one, because those certifications, they do count for if you are qualified, you do not want to miss out on having that certification. Next slide, please. Okay, so and I want you to be able to find the opportunities as they become available. So you're going to go to, we have our own website, LA County Public Works, specific for the solicitations that are available or upcoming or even past ones. And so you go to that website there, and you'll be able to search through what we have and get something that's a good fit for your company. And then after that is really where you're going to, the details will change from the other agencies, but you just have to stick with it and understand that we're here to help you. And if you don't get help the first time around, then try again. You just have to keep with it. And we have teams of people devoted to helping you grow your business and also uplift yourself and the community, and really take this money that's being invested in public works, and before anything is done, before buildings are erected or before bridges are built, we want the community to benefit before the work is done. And we are devoted to you. I want you to know that. There's probably people out there that are struggling. They're confused. They hear the same thing and they're missing something. Look at the resources, connect with us, and we will spend however much time you need for your business to understand the solicitation process, best practices for within LA County. And we have multiple departments, but for public works, I'm going to just, next slide, please. I'm going to have you go to that website, sign up for that email address, and you'll get alerted of the new opportunities, because that's a good way to stay and connected to anybody. It's connected to us and the upcoming opportunities. But really, if you have any problems or if you get stuck, then reach out to us and we'll help you get unstuck. There's a lot of money coming down. There's a lot of money being worked on right now. We're building a lot of things, and there's no reason why you can't be a part of that. The people are out there doing it right now. So just because you don't get it the first time or the second time or the third time, in 5 years, if you get it, then the 5 years are going to pass anyways. And you just have to stick with it. And when you do, then you really can tap into an enormous opportunity to not only help the community, but help your family, help your business. And we're devoted. I wake up every morning, our team is excited to help you do that. So please reach out to us. I urge you to do that, and we'll guide you through the steps. Because I know that there's a lot of people out there that it's confusing, and you feel like it's a bureaucracy, and you're getting maybe you're being sent to the same people in a circle. But eventually, if it comes to us, then you will be with you. We're not going to offload you. We'll make sure that you get the help that you need. It's not a statistic. We look at each person, each individual, each business as they are. And so that each business has their own unique needs, and that's how we address it. You're not going to get a form letter telling you how to do business with us. We're going to engage with you. We feel you, and we're here for you. We've created an entire team to help businesses grow. We want you to be a medium business, then a large business, and then continue the cycle. Then you can help the small businesses become medium and big for generations. And so I don't have a lot of time here. I think I'm actually over. So thanks you again so much, City of Los Angeles. I appreciate the opportunity to put the contact information there. If anybody has any questions, please email us and we will get back to you. Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Hi, good morning. Hang on. Okay, hi everybody. Can you hear me? Can you see me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Sorry, we had some technical difficulties there. I was trying to get in the room, but it was full, so had some back and forth. Anyway, so I'm David Jaco, Director of Efficiency Solutions from the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power, and I just wanted to preview a few programs we're going to be sending out RFPs, requests for proposal, about here in a month or two, a couple months. It's quite a bit, as you can see from these dollar amounts. We have some very robust programs that serve our customers very well, and give them a lot of the services they need to really be energy efficient and cut their bills. And so we we think about our portfolio of programs in terms of customer segments. Mass market, that's residential and small business. Commercial, industrial, institutional, CII, that's big business, but also institutions, hospitals, the city, the county, universities, refineries, the port, the airport, things like that, the big stuff. And then a little bit on engineering services, which is just technical support for my engineering team, which supports our customers in being as efficient as they possibly can. So going back to mass market, the big ticket item is the commercial direct install program that's traditionally been focused on lighting, but we're starting to saturate that market, converting everything to LEDs. So we're looking at getting into refrigeration, cooling, food storage, and also air conditioning, which leads to the AC optimization program, which is a program that helps our folks with central air conditioning be much more efficient, fix their systems, tune up their systems, and also early retirement for much more modern technologies like heat pumps and things like that. And then finally, our commercial and residential online product marketplace, which is an online instant discount program for our customers to select high efficiency end use equipment. End use means appliances, things like lighting, like washers, dryers, ovens, room ACs, window units, things like that. So that's actually the bulk of it. But then under commercial, industrial, institutional, we have an upstream program where we incentivize distributors, HVAC, HVAC, heating, ventilation, air conditioner distributors, to only stock high efficiency equipment. So when a customer needs a replacement, that's what's available, because that's a long running thing. You know, people don't replace their air conditioning proactively. They replace it when it fails. And so it's an emergency. And so they grab whatever's on the shelf. That program ensures that whatever's on the shelf is the highest efficiency possible. Zero by Design is the new construction program that helps our customers design their new buildings to be even more efficient than code requires. And then within engineering services, EM&V is evaluation, measurement, and verification, which means assessing how successful our programs are. We're under a statewide mandate through the California Energy Commission, the CEC, to do third-party verification of our energy savings, what we report, what we calculate, what we claim. The idea is, did it actually happen? Is it real? Emerging technology evaluations, that is looking for the latest and greatest new technologies that we can help our customers acquire. And we evaluate, do they actually save the energy and the bill savings that they claim they do? Engineering services providers, that's general tech support for our engineers. And then what we call potential studies. Potential studies are what is the achievable potential of energy efficiency still out there? And I mention this because I mentioned back in talking about commercial direct install about lighting, we're getting close to saturating the market with LEDs, with LED technology for lighting. So potential studies help us assess how close we are to saturating the market with those technologies, and what we should do next. So this in whole, obviously the big ticket items are all under mass market. You see $470 million there. This is a 5-year contract amount. So take the total and divide it by 5. It's about $105 million a year roughly. But that's the RFP we plan to hit the street here in about 2 months or so. Thanks.
All right, thank you to our panelists for providing updates on current procurement opportunities. I know most people were looking forward to this important information. Now I'll invite Ronell Hampton, Principal Equity Strategist with the Los Angeles Civil Human Rights and Equity Department, also known as LA Civil Rights, to speak. He is joining us to share information on the Racial Equity and Newly Empowered Workplaces Renew Task Force. Ronell, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Commissioner Corsan. Really appreciate it. My name is Ronell Hampton. I'm the Principal Equity Strategist with the LA Civil Rights Department. Super excited to be with you all here today. Next slide. As Commissioner Corsan explained, we are here to talk about the Racial Equity and Newly Empowered Workplace initiatives. This initiative was launched in partnership with the in response to ED 27, Executive Directive 27. This initiative was launched October 5th, and it really draws on the private sector to partner with the city to bring company representatives together in support to contribute to Los Angeles Racial Equity Plan. The Renew Task Force is a broad coalition that is committed to a clear goal of rooting out structural racism in our businesses and building a more just, fair, and equitable Los Angeles. Again, the city of Los Angeles really looks to the private sector as partners in this effort. Next slide. Some of the pillars that the Renew effort is working to support participants on are building and shaping an inclusive pipeline and equitable hiring process across all levels and functions, to create equitable development opportunities for retention and promotion, reduce and eradicate any like-for-like racial compensation gap, build a diverse procurement and vendor network that supports and promotes equity, include minority groups with equitable company portfolio and brand, and support organizations and communities advancing equity through communication, donations, and action. So we're supporting companies in these pillars by giving them access to technical assistance support software. Next slide. And with the support we're providing, our goal is to, over a 5-year period, support participant organizations and companies, achieve 30% Black and Latino new hires, 16% increase in Black and Latino leadership, 100% Black and Latino pay equity, 14% increase of total vendor spend with minority-owned vendors, and 12% of total market or BD spend. And so these goals, again, may differentiate depending on the company's internal goals, but we are having these 5-year outlook goals. Next slide. And this is really, again, to support companies with a commitment to equity, diversity, and inclusion by providing, again, that technical assistance support around data collection and reporting. Many companies do not currently collect equity data, so we want to support you on your journey in doing that, and also provide you access to city resources on procurement, contracting, and bidding. We heard from many speakers today about ways that contracting is achieving equity through contract requirements. This is not only happening at the local level, but also at the state and federal level. So with Renew and the Racial Equity and Newly Empowered Workplaces, we want to support the companies as they transition and facilitate this culture shift that we're overdue for. So you may be asking, why do you want to participate and renew? Well, again, you get access to free contracting and bidding trainings to help diversify your vendors. It helps you better understand your demographics and tailor products and strategies for your business to meet those demographic needs. It also supports access to free equity measurement software. It's a city partnership, which adds positive publicity for your company. And also, it's really geared towards businesses that have employees who are residents in the city of Los Angeles, or businesses who procure goods and services from businesses located in the city of Los Angeles. This is a joint partnership with several of the speakers that you heard today. So a lot of these details you heard about getting into the details on how to get on to RAMP, how to put your bids that you have as an organization or company onto RAMP. We want to be able to partner with you all and support that journey in collaboration with many of the departments that spoke today. We do have an orientation coming up on October 26th at 2 p.m. We definitely want you to join us so you can learn more about this amazing initiative and how you can get involved and how it can be a benefit to you in your company. So with that said, I'll go ahead and go to the next slide and talk a little bit about other things that we have going on with LA Civil Rights. As a department, we also have the LA Repair Initiative, which is reforms for equity and public acknowledgement of institutional racism. We are currently in the idea phase where we are collecting ideas from communities addressing longstanding issues of discrimination and injustice. Anyone who lives, works, worships, or studies in the zones we are operating in can submit an idea. The current phase is from September 1st through November 6th. We are currently operating in the community plan areas we are calling repair zones. Those repair zones are Boyle Heights, Mission Hills, Panorama City, North Hills, as well as Southeast LA. The website is located right here, repair.lacity.org, to learn more or how you can get involved and spread the message around our idea collection phase. $10 million will be spread across 9 community plan areas. Again, the current community plan areas in idea collection phase are Mission Hills, Panorama City, North Hills, Southeast LA. And so moving on to the next slide. The last thing I want to mention is our LA for All campaign. It is our anti-hate and discrimination campaign. You may have seen our post regarding LA for All Day that happened a few weeks ago. It was a beautiful event. We held it in Lincoln Park, which is a beautiful, beautiful park here in the city of LA. You may have also seen that we had the city lit up, the 6th Street Bridge, City Hall, and other places like LAX participated in us really claiming LA for all. As my background on my display says, I belong, you belong, we belong, and that is what LA Civil Rights is all about. So definitely, again, join us on October 26th to learn more about the Renew Initiative, and please follow us on our social media handles. Next slide. To stay in contact, I'll also drop some links in the chat so you all can have some hyperlinks to get connected with us. But again, my name is Ronald Hampton. I'm the Principal Equity Strategist with the LA Civil Rights Department, and I'm super excited to be with you all here this morning.
All right, thank you, Ronald, very much for joining us. We are going to mix up our agenda a little bit, and now that Andrew Choi from RAMP has joined us, we'll turn it over to Andrew. Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you, Commissioner. I had a hard time getting in this morning. This must be where everyone's at. It's where everyone seems to be focused on. And I'm glad that I'm grateful that you've invited us. Hello, my name's Andrew Choi. I work for the Office of Procurement. We are an office within the City Administrative Officer's Office. I am responsible for the technology and the operations for procurement. I want to first of all just say a quick thing about the Office of Procurement. We are not the buyers of the city. Each department is responsible for their own buying, but what we do is we provide the policy, process, and technology for the departments and support their procurement activities. So the system we're about to inform you of, RAMP, the Regional Alliance Marketplace for Procurement, is under the Office of Procurement, and that is where we house all city procurement opportunities. Next slide. What is RAMP? Well, RAMP is one of the largest public-private economic development initiative hosted by the city. What we're looking to do is make your procurement experience easier. So currently, while RAMP was replacing LADWP, which was the city's procurement solicitation platform, what we decided to do is change the strategy and now let other entities source vendors from our system. We have partners from Cedars-Sinai, City of Hope, to City of Long Beach, and other municipalities on our platform, posting their opportunities and sourcing vendors from our database. So if you are not on RAMP today, if you are not registered on RAMP today, your first thing you need to do after the end of this training series and this presentation is go to rampla.org, rampla.org, and make sure you're registered into the system. That is how we, the city, and other entities are going to find you and how you're going to be notified of procurement opportunities, and also other opportunities such as training events hosted by other groups such as LAUSD and the County of LA, but also a way for you to just be informed and be connected. What we're trying to do is increase business-to-business engagement in this system. You're going to be able to look for other companies. You're going to be able to look for other primes. And eventually, what we're trying to do is create a centralized database of all city contracts in RAMP. By doing so, you're going to be able to research and understand the city's procurement process in a more thorough basis. You're going to be able to see what contracts are going to be expiring, so that you can prepare yourself for the upcoming bids when those contracts, when new contracts are needed. So truly, rampla.org is going to be your one place to go to start understanding city's contracts, city procurement, and how you can potentially become a prime contractor or a subcontractor to a prime contractor. Next slide. This is our homepage. So rampla.org, if you go in on the top right-hand side, you'll see a login page. Once you start your login process, it's going to allow you to register. And if you're already registered, congratulations, you've completed your first step. And you're going to now be able to search for your opportunities or find other business partners. Next slide. When you search for opportunities, what we wanted you to do is have a shopping experience. We took inspiration from Macy's, Bloomingdale's, and all the other e-commerce opportunities that exist in our new way of, operating in business. And we wanted to use the best practices of how businesses create their e-shopping experience and bring it to you. So what we create on the left-hand side on the screen is going to be menu options, where you're going to be able to specify which industry, what type of procurement. Is it in construction? Is it a professional service opportunity? Is it commodities? You can use your NICS codes, your industry codes, to identify opportunities specifically for you. You can see a history of expired opportunities that were awarded, and start looking up who's been awarded these contracts, so you have a better understanding of what the city is looking for in their contractors. Next slide. Once you're done looking for opportunities, you're going to be able to search for other businesses as well. So say that you yourself are not necessarily looking for be a contractor, but you're looking for someone to do your fencing work, or you're looking for someone to do, I don't know, if you need a new system developer, you can start looking through our database and find the vendors that are registered on RAMP today yourself. So in that database, you're going to be able to, again, have a shopping experience, look for certification. So if you want to find a local business with an LBE certification, you can do that. If you're looking for a minority business, you can do that. The hard work of the Bureau of Contract Administration is all housed here, where you can start leveraging the database and the certifications that BCA does, and their team does a great job in. So yes, start using the technology we've created, and start using the technology that's available to you, and do what you can with it, so that you can find yourself being successful in not only procurement with the city, with our regional partners, but finding vendors for yourself. Well, with that, thank you again for inviting me to this event. I'm glad to share this information with you. If you have any questions, rampla.org has a support page on the top right-hand side, or you can email us directly at support@rampla.org. Thank you. Back to you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Andrew. Now it's time to introduce our panel of small businesses who are joining us today to share more insight and valuable information on the tools and resources they have utilized to successfully contract with the City of Los Angeles and other government agencies. Joining us today for this panel are Kristen McComber, co-founder and CEO of Summit Strategy and a former presenter at BCA Small Business Academy. Kristen, why don't you take a minute and introduce yourself?
Sure. Thank you, Commissioner, for having me. Super excited to be here. My name is Kristen McComber, and I am the co-founder and CEO of a small woman-owned business named Summit Strategy. I've got about 19 years of experience in marketing, business development, proposal writing roles. I actually started my career out on the DC area for a small woman-owned architecture firm. And then for a while, worked for some of the biggies, worked for companies like Tetra Tech and Louis Berger, which is now part of WSP, Burns & McDonnell, T.Y. Lin, et cetera. And I decided last year to leave corporate and start my own business. And so we founded Summit Strategy last year, and we're about a year and a half in now, and have been loving every second of it as a small business owner. And we work with other small businesses across the country and help them with their marketing efforts, write proposals, improve their brand, et cetera. So super excited to talk to you today and tell you a little bit more about some of those best practices, because there are tons of opportunities out there. We just heard from all the agencies on so many procurements coming up. And so we're going to talk today about how to win some of that.
Fantastic. Thank you for joining us, and congratulations on starting your own small business. Our second panelist is Elizabeth Ruvalcaba Mendez, co-owner of ALAS Media and a graduate of the Bureau of Contract Administration Small Business Academy. Elizabeth, thank you for joining us. Sorry if I mispronounced your name, but please take a minute to introduce yourself before you and Kristen have a conversation with one another.
Thank you, Commissioner, for the introduction. Hi, everyone. I'm Elizabeth Rubalcaba Mendez, and I co-own ALAS Media. We're a Los Angeles-based full-service video production company that's been in business for over 15 years. We're actually turning 15 next week. So we help organizations to find, cultivate, and share their stories. We specialize in marketing, fundraising, and corporate video. We are certified women-owned business, minority-owned, small-owned business, diverse-owned business. Our clients include Fortune 100 companies, Los Angeles Metro, Metropolitan Water District, the City of Santa Monica. And what differentiates us as a video production company is the authentic voice that we bring to our videos and our ability to deliver on time and within budget, which is very important when it comes to government contracting work. In the past few years, we've broken into government contracting, and I was very fortunate to be a part of the Small Business Academy back in 2018 that was facilitated by Mr. John Reamer. Kristen actually came and spoke to our class as well. And in the Academy, I learned a lot of really great best practices on government contracting, and I'm excited to be here today, share some of my lessons learned, and I look forward to continuing that learning from Kristen here today.
Awesome. Well, I think let's dive in if you're good with that, Commissioner. Ready for us to get going?
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. All right, so we've broken up the discussion today into 3 segments. So the first segment we're going to talk about is how to prepare for an RFP, how to assess an RFP, how to make sure that you can win that RFP before you invest time and resources into writing your proposal. Then we're going to talk about actually writing the proposal and submitting it and some of those best practices and lessons learned that Elizabeth's team has had. And then we're going to talk about what happens after you find out that you win or lose that opportunity and what you can do to get ready for the next one. So in terms of the preparedness and vetting piece, so obviously we heard today, like I said, tons of RFPs coming out soon and down the pike. And so how do you, as a business, really evaluate those RFPs and make sure that you're pursuing the right ones? So I know, Elizabeth, you mentioned that you've been into government contracting for quite some time. Tell us a little bit about when and how you made that decision to get into government contracting and what that really looked like for your small business.
So being in business for 15 years, the first couple of years, we really worked on a lot of projects, a lot of small projects, and we were constantly going after new clients. So it was identifying clients, building a relationship, proposing work. But once we were done, a lot of the work was one and done. So we just found that we were putting a lot of effort for one-time kind of a project. So we joined the Los Angeles Latino Chamber of Commerce back in about 2015. And I was really fortunate that we stepped into a session on government contracting. One of the advisors there suggested that we check it out. We were a woman-owned, and we qualified for a lot of these certifications. So started with the workshop, met this great advisor who really kind of held our hand throughout the process, got one certification, and then one certification turned into pretty much every certification that we could get from there. But it's been a really great humbling process, a really great learning process. It takes a while to break into, but we're in a really great position now, and we're really thankful that we found government contracting for our business.
Yeah, and I know sometimes it's a daunting kind of transition, because we work with a lot of small businesses that are very, established in their industry from the like business to business, B2B or commercial side, and then they start to realize how much work there is in the government space, whether it's the city, state, municipal, or federal government. But making that transition into federal government, or even just state and local government, is often complex because the procurement process is so detailed and overwhelming, and the RFP documents are hundreds and hundreds of pages. And I personally get excited when I see a very complex, crazy RFP, because I love that, and that's what I do for a living. But I know as business owners, it's not always your favorite thing to do. So Elizabeth, tell us a little bit about when you do see an RFP, how do you evaluate it and make sure that it is right for you to pursue, and that you should invest the time and resources to write that proposal?
Yep. So like, as you mentioned, some of these are hundreds of pages. So as a small business, we're wearing a lot of different hats. So taking the time to even just read through one of these is a commitment. So what we like to do is we make sure that we're vetting the RFP so that we're not just applying to everything. That was one of the mistakes we made at the beginning. It's like, oh, it's a video production, it's marketing, we qualify, let's go for it. And now that we're a few years into this process, what we first do is, first of all, read the technical requirements. Do we meet the insurance requirements? Can we deliver on time what they're asking of us? And then we also just kind of go through and make sure, do we have time? Do we have the bandwidth to make sure that we can deliver? Because one of the big things with these projects is, if you're awarded that contract, you need to make sure that you can deliver properly on that. And you want to leave with that best experience, because one bad mark on that, like that's it, right? Like in government contracting work. So for us, we just really making sure that we meet all the requirements, that we have the time to properly respond to that proposal, because the proposal writing will take some time. So just making sure that we have the time allocated and the team to be able to respond to it.
Yeah, one thing I noticed, and I'm curious your opinion on this, Elizabeth, is, we work with a lot of small businesses that they get really excited when they see an RFP, because they're like, yes, this is my sweet spot, I do this service, but they haven't met with the client, they haven't built their team, their strategy. And so they're coming in cold, essentially, when the RFP is released, because many firms have been talking to the client, have been deep diving and learning, about the client's issues and challenges and goals and strategies, and how they can then position themselves as the winner of that contract. And so what specific aspects do you, you mentioned a few, but like, do you have a formal process to review an RFP with your team? Do you just kind of do it on a gut basis and make that decision? Or how do you really truly make the decision to go?
Yeah, so for us, we internally have a checklist. So literally meeting the technical requirements, the time requirements, and then also just looking at our calendar. Like what we do is when we see the RFP, we see when is the question and answer period, and we calendar that. When is the proposal due? Does it conflict with any of the current work that we have going on? And then we also calendar when would that work take place, because it can also shift. So making sure that we have the team internally to meet it. And then also we subcontract with a lot of other people. Can we subcontract some of our other work so that we can focus on this client? Because for a lot of these proposals, they're requiring the team that you list is the team that needs to complete the work. You cannot sub it out. So we just make sure that that's addressed. So what we do is we have internally a checklist. It differs for depending on what kind of company. We have video production. If you're, selling a, product, whatever that might be, we literally make a checklist of what it is that's required of us. And that's pretty much a checklist that we revise before we dive into responding to any RFP.
Good. I love to hear that, because I know some people, a lot of our clients just kind of wing it, like I said. And so having a formal checklist is really important, and making sure that you're really asking yourself the hard questions and not just letting yourself kind of talk yourself into going after everything. And I know as business owners, and even for myself as a business owner, we get excited, and especially when the economy is starting to feel a little uneasy and maybe there's a recession coming. And so you start to panic and you feel like, I've got to go after every single RFP out there. But I always tell my clients, and in every training session that I do, that it's really about focusing on the ones that you can really win and doing that hard analysis and making sure that you really truly assess those RFPs before you invest, because everyone has limited time, limited resources. And so if you spread yourself too thin, especially as a small business, and you pursue, everything that hits the street, your chances of winning all those are slim, right? And so you've really got to focus on the one or the two that you really stand a chance of winning. And hopefully you've had an opportunity to get ahead of that RFP, like I said, and talk to the client and understand a little bit more about their goals and objectives. Anything else to add there, Elizabeth, on kind of the prep phase?
So I think just on the prep phase is making sure you have time to research, because like you had mentioned, Kristen, like you have to really know these companies that you're going to be doing work with. So a lot of them have look ahead. So it's like they're going to release the RFP in 6 months and 12 months. So if it's a client, I think the hard thing is that everyone wants to do government contracting and everyone sounds like they're a good client, but it's really making a list for yourself of these are the 5 or 10 clients that I want to go after, and then researching them for, it might be a few months, it might be a few years, and just kind of signing up if they have, a registration to sign up as a vendor with them, but also their look aheads. But that's all research that you want to do in those preliminary phases, but having a very targeted list so that not everyone becomes, a target. Like there should really only be a handful of folks that you're trying to go after.
Yep, absolutely. I think that's part of your business planning process, or whatever process you call it within your company. But I think really getting aligned with your team on the 3 to 5 targets for that year and the must-win contracts that you're really investing your time and resources in to pursue. So good points. So let's talk now about, you have an RFP, you've done the go, no go assessment, you decide that you want to pursue. And I think, Elizabeth, you've had what, 4, 5, 6 years maybe of heavy proposal experience. So you've been doing this for a while. So what do you wish that you knew on your first RFP? Like looking back, way back when you first did your first one, I'm sure you're much smarter now. What have you learned that you can share with all these folks?
Yeah, so a lot of lessons learned for us when we responded to that first RFP. We didn't know anyone that was doing government contracting work. We had never seen what a proposal would actually look like in response to an RFP. So I think the first lesson learned is, if you could request, if you ask if there's an incumbent vendor, and if you can request the winning proposal, then you at least have a structure of what does a proposal even look like? Because for someone who does it all the time, that there's a letter of introduction or, a table of contents. These are basic things that we did not know because we had never seen a response. And I didn't know that you could request a response. So I would say, first of all, that. The second thing, sign your proposal. It sounds very basic, but I did not know that. That was like, I think our first proposal, it didn't specifically say you need to sign your proposal. But that's, I was in a session, you learn so much, continually trying to educate yourself to respond to these RFPs. But someone was like, you'd be surprised at how many proposals are not signed. And I was like, guilty. That's definitely one of ours as well. So I think those are just some of the basics. And then also there's a question and answer period. And for that was huge on our first proposal. When we were writing, we got completely stuck in some areas, but the Q&A period had passed. So essentially what you should be doing is have a draft of your proposal before the Q&A ends, so that if you have a specific question, if something may not be too clear, you have a chance to clarify that. Because if that Q&A period passes, it's already too late. There's no one that you cannot answer. You can't call someone, you cannot email someone. Like that is it. You're in that time zone where it's blocked. So I think those would be our important lessons learned from responding to that first proposal.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned asking for a copy of the winner's proposals, or even just the loser's proposals through, many of you may know the Freedom of Information Act, FOIA, right? You can request a lot of that public documentation, or sometimes it's posted on websites or in board meeting minutes. But really taking your time to do that research, I think, is really important. When you've requested those in the past, Elizabeth, have you learned anything about your competition that's been super helpful for your proposals?
Oh, definitely. I think one, just how folks are structuring things, and two, even visually, like for us, like we were on like a Word document, just, kind of responding to things. Then we realized like people have graphics and color. And, so what we did is we paid a graphic designer, because we have so much going on. We do graphic design ourselves as well, but we just didn't have time to properly put something together. So we invested some money and had a designer, create a really nice template for us. So now when we respond, it's like our photos, you're seeing pictures of our team, things like that. And that's something that we saw on a winning RFP, on a winning proposal, that I wish I would have known like early on. I think it was like a few proposals in that I was like, oh, people aren't just turning in this boring looking Word document. You know, there's color, there's personality. And I think really to reflect who you are as a business. And we think we're a fun, creative business, you know, so it's like, I think that was definitely lacking in those first proposals that we were submitting.
Yeah, that's a good point. Because I mean, let's be honest, the procurement folks at all these agencies on the call, they're probably getting 20, 30, 50, 100 proposals sometimes for these really big programs. And so it's hard. I mean, they don't want to read a boring document. And I think really jazzing it up and telling that story is important. So I'm glad to hear that. I think there's a couple other just lessons learned that I'll share here that I've seen throughout my career in terms of just writing the actual content. And Elizabeth, feel free to chime in if any of these resonate with you. But one is just providing too much information. I think sometimes we get excited and, you know, the RFP asks for specific things and we answer that, but then we tend to just like elaborate so much. And sometimes I think that muddies the water, especially on the procurement side. I think a lot of these folks have checklists and, you know, they're just making sure that we're compliant with all the requirements. And if we're giving them too much information, it's sometimes hard for them to weed through and make sure that we're answering the mail. So I think one tip is just to be succinct and to the point and not give too much information. Has that happened to you, Elizabeth? Have you experienced that, or are you guys pretty good at being succinct?
We're good at being succinct now. We were not at the beginning. We were putting way too much information and we were talking way too much about ourselves as well versus talking about the client. And I think one of the other things is like just really putting relevant experience on there. If you've worked on a project that meets a lot of the requirements of this one, name drop that client and really talk about what skills are going to transfer from that project to this specific project so that they know you're not just responding because, okay, you meet the requirements, but it's like, hey, we would be a really good choice. We have really great relevant experience that we can bring into your project.
Yeah, you stole my thunder. That was my second point, is making sure to talk from the client's perspective. Because I think, again, it's easy to talk about ourselves. We know our business intimately. We know our experience, and we can easily write a document that's just all about ourselves. But as the client and the agency and the procurement and decision makers are reading that document, if we're not talking about how we're going to help them solve their problems and how we're going to meet their goals and objectives and what it is that we do differently than any other firm out there, it's hard for them to compare and make that decision. So I think really focusing on writing benefit-focused language is what I always call it versus feature-focused language, which is the benefits about why the client should choose you and your solution and your team and why you're better than other firms. And so I think really focusing on that, and even little things like making sure that in your whole document, you're naming the client, you're talking about the client more than you're talking about yourself, just in the name. I mean, I've seen back in the day, I saw a cover letter from a company that every sentence started with their company name, and it was just all about them instead of really turning it around to be about the client that they were proposing to and talking about what it is that they need and how you can then help them. Anything else to add there on the content piece?
No, I think you nailed all of it, Kristen. Those are all really great points.
Cool. So then let's talk about after you submit the proposal. So first of all, what do you do after you submit the proposal? Do you go on vacation? Do you take a break? Because sometimes these are really heavy lift efforts and time sucks, right? And so what do you do just personally?
Personally, it depends. So there's some of them you have to turn in online, right? And other ones you have to like run to the post office. So I think just coming back and then right away, what Rosa and I, Rosa's my co-founder and my teammate from Alas Media. So we sit down and we kind of lesson learned, right? Where did we go wrong in this proposal? Did we wait too long to apply? We write down a couple of lessons just from even having written the proposal, because we just kind of keep like a sheet online where it's like we go back to these lessons. So as we're applying to the next one, we know not to make that same mistake or areas that we did well in. And then what we do is we have pretty much like a basic, like, this is like our introduction. This is our relevant experience. We go updating it. It's almost like a bank that we have that we can go back. So we're not constantly reinventing and rewriting the proposal every time. The experience specific to the project will change, but like your introduction, who you are, those are basic things. So we just kind of go back once we've written our last proposal and kind of update things so that we're not working so hard every single time.
Yeah, that's a great idea, because those lessons really inform the next, right? And I think so often I'm guilty of this myself. Like, you finish a big project, you submit it, you get it off your plate, and then you just move on to the next one, and you don't really take that time reflect and make sure that you capture what you've done well and what you could have done better, and help yourself improve for the next. And so I think that's a really important piece on the internal side. And then on the external side, let's say that you get awarded the contract or you find out that you weren't successful. Talk to us, I guess, Elizabeth, a little bit if you ask for a debrief from the client and if you've gained any information through that process.
Yep. So absolutely. Every time we lose a project, the first thing we do is request a debrief, like where did we go wrong and where did we go right? So I like to ask those questions like, yeah, there were areas that, were not as strong, like how could we strengthen them? What did the competitor do differently that we didn't? But also what areas we did do right? Because there's a couple of areas in that we're like, okay, those are the strengths that we have, but I will always ask for a debrief. And I think it's great. Sometimes, it's a very minor, here's your score, and they don't go into deeply, but I'll always ask, could I request a deeper debrief? And there's been times where I've been on a 1-hour conversation that had really helped. So our first proposal that we ever applied to was out for Orange County for their transportation administration out there. We did not get it. We requested the winning bid. We went through a really deep debrief, and the agent who's doing the debrief was just phenomenal. I feel like a lot of the lessons learned were from that 1-hour debrief. He knew we were new and was just so kind with his advice that that advice really helped us nail the work that we're doing now for Metro. Our first proposal to Metro was not successful. The second one was same thing. The debrief that we had on that first one was like, oh, these are the mistakes we made. So the second one around we actually got, which was really great. So I think the debriefs for me are just such an incredibly big learning lesson, and everyone should be requesting a debrief.
Yeah, and I think to flip that too, you talked about debriefing when you lose. You also want to debrief when you win. Have you ever done one of those or requested one of those, Elizabeth?
No, we actually haven't. And now that you're mentioning it, I mean, that I didn't even realize that you could do that. So that's a great lesson learned for me.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, not all agencies will give you that debrief, but it's always good to ask. And I think you get more valuable information when you ask after you win, because you find out why you were successful, and then you can replicate that for the future. So don't be afraid to ask that. And a lot of firms don't really even think about that. So that's something that may give you a leg up now, and you can ask your clients after you're successful of why they picked you, and give you some intel. I think for debriefs in general, it was many years ago, and it was with the Army Corps of Engineers over on the East Coast, one of the districts. I was part of a debrief for a company that I worked for at the time, and they told us we weren't successful with the proposal, and they told us that one of the evaluation, it wasn't an official evaluation factor, but one of the things that kind of lost us some points was on our project sheets, there was too much white space. And I was like, what? Like, why? And so their feedback was that if there was too much white space on a project description page, they thought it meant we didn't have enough to say because we didn't really have the experience. And so it's just a point to really make sure that you're always asking for those debriefs as many times as you can, because you find out these little pieces of information that'll never be written in an RFP, but it's part of someone's evaluation process, and you lose points because of it. So I thought that was interesting to share. Have you ever had any crazy like debrief results, Elizabeth, that you heard and you were like, gosh, did not even think about that?
Yeah, so one of them is formatting. You assume that your formatting is transferring, because sometimes, like I mentioned, you've got to print it and actually mail it in, but sometimes you have to upload. And if their Word doesn't match your Word, or if it's PDF, because sometimes you have to respond in Word, it cannot be a PDF, right? So depending on what that formatting is, I will print it. I will always print our proposal to see how it's printing, just to make sure formatting is right, because there was one RFP where it's like, oh no, your margins were off by like a quarter instead of a half, whatever that was supposed to be. So just making sure those technical requirements, literally font size, all of that will disqualify you. They'll ask if it has to be on recycled paper, like little things like that will just kill you in the proposal process. So just kind of double checking some of those things. But in a debrief, you will learn if you've ever made that mistake. So that was one of ours. It's like, I now print everything before I even just submit it to make sure that their formatting is matching ours as well.
Yep, totally. Those little things. And that's where that checklist in the beginning really helps, because you have that checklist that you build from the 500-page RFP document. You don't have to weed through that document again to find all those little minutia. It's in your checklist for you at the end. So as we wrap up here, Elizabeth, let's just summarize for the audience, like, what are your top 3 takeaways as a small business to other small businesses in terms of just government contracting, writing proposals, winning work? What you got for us?
So I would say, one, keep a spreadsheet. I think organization is key. So what proposal are you responsible applying to? Link to it if you have it. When is the Q&A due? When is the proposal due? Is it due in person? Is it due, do you have to mail it, or do you have to actually physically take it in? Because that will add some time. And then the second thing is always try to get your proposal in sooner than it's due. Like, you do not want to be running. You do not want to be that person, because that happened to me. One of the proposals that we won, and it's a very big contract, I literally ran and tripped on the way to turn in the proposal, got there like literally 5 minutes before it was due. This was early on. This is a mistake we'd never do again. So for us internally, we turn in 48 hours before. So it just gives us time so that if there is a formatting issue or something's off or a graph is not, inserting properly or whatever that might be. But I think too, just always making sure you give yourself plenty of time, because things will happen. We have families, emergencies happen that, will, not allow you to turn that in on time. And the third is really just to take advantage of, that Q&A period. Like I mentioned, for us, Q&A period is huge. You may catch something that they'll have to actually update the RFP. We've had that where it's like they've had to reissue it, an addendum, because they themselves didn't catch something. So those are just the 3 big takeaways that we've had in this government processing.
Hopefully you didn't hurt yourself when you fell down and tripped.
It was minor, but the contract was big enough where it made up for the bruising. So it was great.
Slap some Band-Aids on it and say, okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. And I think really making sure that you're hand delivering as much as, like, if it is an actual delivery hard copy submission instead of electronic, hand deliver it if you can, make the drive if you can, sit in traffic to do so if you can, versus shipping. I've had so many issues in my life with FedEx or UPS or USPS, any of those folks, just shipments getting lost all over the place and not getting there on time. And so the more you can just show up in person with your package and deliver it to the client, the better. So Elizabeth, anything else to add? And before we wrap up, those some great tips.
I would just say, just don't be discouraged. You're going to get so many no's. I mean, we keep a list. I think we've maybe had like 100 no's, but it's like we've had 20 yeses. So it's like we have a 20% success rate. So it's like for each one that you don't win, we don't see it as losing, right? It's like we didn't win this one, we carry on. We write our lessons learned and you keep going, because some of these agencies you might have to court for a couple of years. Some of them might be a few months. It's not to discourage anyone, but it takes some work. But once you're in there and you've kind of shown who you are, show that you have, that really good work ethic, agencies talk, and that stamp of approval, like for us doing work for Metro, we've done, countless videos for them. Like that's had a lot of weight when we go talk to a different agency, because we've done work for Metro, that's opened up a lot of doors. So you really just need one yes to get your foot in the door. So don't be discouraged. It's not an easy process, but it is completely worth it.
Yep. Totally agree. Yeah, stick with it and just have a plan. I think that's my biggest takeaway and lesson learned for everyone, is just have a plan and be strategic about where you're investing your time and resources, and make sure that you're trying to get ahead of those RFPs and not waiting for an RFP to hit the street to start, because then you're late to the game. And so I think the more you can do to understand these agencies and their procurement cycles and the look aheads, like you said, Elizabeth, and just get ready. I think that will help you write stronger proposals. And I'll do a shameless plug here for a second. If you need help with writing proposals, call me. That's what we do every day. We help our clients win proposals. So you also have experts there to help you. So with that, I think we're ready to wrap up, and we appreciate it. Our contact information was in the chat. So if you guys had questions or want to reach out and further the discussion, please do. And we're happy to talk some more. So thank you.
Great. Thank you, Kristen and Elizabeth, our small business panelists, for sharing your experience and offering tips and resources to help our other businesses be successful. For our next portion of today's virtual event, we'll have Giovanna Perez, Management Analyst with the Economic Workforce Development Department. Giovanna, the floor is yours. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for participating in this wonderful event. Again, I'm Giovanna. I am a management analyst with the Business Source Center system that's part of EWDD. I think we need, this is the Spanish. Okay, wonderful. So we can, in the interest of time and focusing on one of our greatest assets, the BSC system, I'd like to forward to slide number 6. So that we can talk about some of the great resources that we have. So that's the slide before that. And so it's slide 6. So I'll just go ahead and get started. So we have the business response unit that's part of our department. So this unit is responsible for assisting any folks that are interested in opening a business or that are already have an operational business with any questions related to permits with the city. So, you know, the staff in this unit can connect you with the different departments depending on what permits you're inquiring or interested in applying for, and with different resources. You know, the contact information is here, and I believe that this presentation will be shared with you. So if you have any questions about where to start, what permits you may need for specific businesses or business types, you can definitely call them and they will assist you and connect you to the correct departments. Next slide, please. EWDD also does fund incubators across the city. So there are presently 3 incubators. The goal of the incubators is to support businesses in their development and growth. Typically, they serve a cohort and guide them, they mentor them, they offer free space and other resources. A lot of the times they will set up different events and opportunities to network and connect with mentors. So if you are interested in, you know, if you're interested in starting a business and need that support, please do contact our incubators. Next slide. Okay, so here are the 3 that we currently fund. The first one is the Los Angeles Clean Tech Incubator, or LACI. So this is the city's nonprofit clean technology commercialization center focused on helping early stage clean technology companies, thereby creating green jobs and promoting an inclusive green economy. Second, we have Grid 110. So they are a cohort-based startup accelerator-like program based in downtown. Their goal is to help startups scale at a stable trajectory to stimulate economic and community development in LA and other underserved areas in this region. And lastly, we have Braid Theory. They are an advisory firm that supports science and engineer-led companies. Again, if you have more questions or want additional information, please do contact us, and we'd be more than happy to provide more information as well as contact information. Next slide, please. Okay, so I'm here with my colleague. She is the manager for the Harbor Business Source Center. So a little bit on our Business Source Center system. So there are 10 Business Source Centers across the city of Los Angeles. We have them in, you know, the Harbor area, Watts, South LA, Southeast LA, East LA, the North Valley, South Valley, West Valley, Pico Union, Westlake area, and Hollywood. So we are very fortunate to be able to have these centers across the city to support startups or folks that already have a business. We are really proud to be able to fund this system. They provide a variety of essential services. They have been essential in helping a lot of businesses during the last 2 years. During COVID, they were integral in assisting businesses in applying for loans through SBA and helping them stay afloat and keep folks working. And so, you know, I will go ahead and let Amanda Enriquez with the Harbor BSC discuss the next couple slides. But I just, you know, I'm so proud that we have this system and that we have 10 centers. So please make use of them and the free resources and technical assistance that's available through the centers. Amanda?
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon now. Just turned 12 o'clock. I am Amanda Enriquez. As Giovanna said, I am the site manager for the Harbor Business Source Center. She kind of did, she did a great job at explaining. My spiel is we're a free resource for small businesses and entrepreneurs. We help with the laundry list of different services, some of which you see here. So we help with technical assistance, one-on-one consult, which includes one-on-one consulting, needs assessments. We help with small business financing, so helping businesses understand the road to access to capital, right? What it takes to actually get a business, like a startup loan or an operational loan. We help with tax incentives, and then also lots of different workshops and business courses and networking events and all that good stuff. Next slide. So here's the list of all the different business source centers. As you can see, they're all over the city of Los Angeles. You can choose the one that's closest to you. I will also put my information in the chat, and you can shoot me an email, and I can send you over to the right business source center if mine is a little bit too far for you. So as Giovanna said, there's a whole bunch. I am so proud, actually, our business source center used to be over the Harper and Watts region. And so now Watts has their own business source center, which is so great for the community. Next slide. So I'm going to get to the nitty gritty because this is what people usually, business owners usually come to us. And their first question is, how do I get capital? Or what do you guys do, at the business source center? And I think this graphic does a really good, it helps to give a really good understanding of what we actually do at the business source center. So when a business owner comes in, we kind of do an initial assessment. We see where the business is currently, and then we help with all of these different services. So we'll see if they need training in order to get them to where they need to be to get to the next step to ultimately get lending is what most businesses want. So we start with training, we do one-on-one consulting. So we really help the business to understand where they are in their business life cycle, and what the next steps are in order for them to get to the lending, the place that they're able to get access to capital. And so we do a lot of support in terms of contracting. So let's say that a business may need a little bit more, they're not ready for funding, but they're looking to get contracts so that way they can build up their book of business. We can help with procurement, we help with certifications, we help with, understanding. So I know we had Ramp on, and they're like, if you need help, everybody should get off this and log on to Ramp and create an account. If you needed help with that, that's something the Business Source Center is there for. So that's kind of where we are. We're a resource. So if you're having issues applying for a loan or, applying for a Ramp, and you're just like, I don't know what all this stuff is that they're asking me for, contact your local Business Source Center. We can help with that. The interest rate on microloans. So microloan interest rates are all over the place. So it really depends on where you're going, where you're getting lending from. So that's kind of the stuff that we help with, right? When businesses have questions, when business owners have questions, the Business Source Center is there as a resource. So we can help you understand, because like that question, I mean, it's a great question, right? What is the interest rate? But that really depends on where you're getting your funding from. And so we help to figure out what best funding source or what best lending institution is best for your business. So we can look and, we'll take a look at all the documents that you're supposed to be, that you need in order to apply. And we'll kind of help you to understand what the financial institution is going to look at before you just blindly apply for it. And so that's where at the very end with the loan packaging, that's kind of what we do. We help you to look at, a lending, make it a funding, what am I saying? A lending source may give you a list of things that you need in order for you to apply. So once you get that list, we sit down together and we're like, okay, this is what they're going to look for on your tax returns. This is what they're going to look for on your financial statements, so on and so forth. So like I said before, the Business Source Centers kind of give you a roadmap to what it looks like to get to that point of access to capital. Next slide. And here are some of the major financial programs with the city. So they have small business loan program, they have the major projects loan program, and also the Los Angeles Development Loan Program. And again, I just want to circle back and say, this is where the Business Source Center kind of thrives, is we help you to understand which funding source may be right for you and your business, depending upon the project that you're looking to fund. Next slide. So here's our information, how you can get in contact with us. I kind of wanted to keep it short and sweet, but I don't know if there's time for questions or something I missed. But I think the biggest takeaway is the Business Source Center is your free resource. It's your business consultant without having to go and find a business, pay for a business consulting services. So I think that's the best part of my job for me, is that I get to work with all different types of businesses and all different industries and at different levels of business. And I don't have to charge them, right? Like we are a free resource. So they get that benefit of having a consultant or a partner, and without having to, spend precious resources on, paying for a consultant. I see the Business Source Center as a conduit, right? If there's things that we can't do in the Business Source Centers, we love to collaborate with different entities. So if there's something that in a Business Source Center we can't do, we'll refer you to a preferred partner that we've usually already worked with. We've kind of vetted already. And that's the other benefit to kind of working with a Business Source Center.
I'd like to add one thing, please. Thank you so much, Amanda. So presently we are working on setting up our centralized services, which, all the BSCs will have access to. So when working with clients, they'll be able to provide referrals for legal services. They'll be able to provide referrals for credit repair assistance and also for website optimization through LA Optimized. So these services will be free. And they're wonderful services. Please contact the BSCs. I have shared 2 flyers, one in Spanish and one in English, with the team. So I think those will be made available. Again, services are free. We're really excited about the launch of our centralized services. All staff is very professional and very experienced. So please do take advantage of our system to help you in launching or establishing or growing your businesses. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to all our partners, presenters, and everyone that participated in today's Accessing LA RiseWith event. It is truly a collaborative effort that makes Accessing LA events possible and allows us to provide you with extensive resources and information that we hope will be instrumental to the success of your business. There has never been a time where this support has been more needed, and the City of Los Angeles will continue to be here to provide that as best as we can. This week, where the narrative may have been that LA is divided and City Hall is divided, we wanted to reassure you that with Accessing LA, we all rise with together, and your city is working hard to make sure that there's equitable opportunities for all businesses across all of Los Angeles. And as a reminder, we will be sharing the recordings and presentations following this event. You can also visit accessingla.com for past event recordings and presentation slides. Also, please be sure to fill out our survey so that we can get your feedback to help shape future events. Thank you again for joining us and for your continued interest in the city's business outreach events. Thank you again to the Bureau of Contract Administration team, Jessica, Aster, Diana, Linda, for all you've done to put this event together, and of course to Inspector John Reamer, Mayor Eric Garcetti, Councilmember Monica Rodriguez, for all participating in today's event, and our wonderful panelists. Thank you again, everyone, and we hope to see you again next year and hopefully in person.